Welcome to Synchronicity. This is episode 15. So this is how I transform in my own space. It's so funny. The topic for today's podcast is all about being alone. I am your boy. I am your music maker. Tahuti Hermes Trismegistus. And I really did have to stop myself because I was just thinking about being alone. And I guess there's a lot of wisdom in making music. And how we all make music when we're alone before we can even use our music to feel like dancing and partying and connecting with other individuals. Literally. So when I'm over here like that's me alone in my space. And me beatboxing is then just channeling it in a way that I can enjoy it in this body while still being alone in my space. I'm here alone. And now I get to share what I do alone with you so we can build upon it together. This is only what the universe is. This is all life is. This is all life ever has been. And is actually, believe it or not, all life ever will be. I promise you. All life ever will be is spirits creating an idea themselves, connecting with it alone. And once they connect with their own idea, now once they feel like not being alone in it, they're going to create the circumstances where they can use their mind to share their idea. And it's always going to be through a body. So this is why spirits can't actually do things to you. You have to be in a body that is in energetic resonance of them being able to have control over you. Which means if you are in that circumstance, then that's because you as a spirit have specifically put yourself in this circumstance so that you can connect with other individuals. So for example, I definitely don't like having student loans. I definitely don't like being scammed out of my whole entire life. Being forced to sit in school just to learn a bunch of lies and then forced to go into debt for a bunch of more lies so I can be a good slave to people who hate me and are actively working to poison my body. Like I hate this objectively. But when after this whole life I fast and get deep into my ability to separate my mind from my body, and then I can connect with my spirit and be in heaven alone, now I understand why I'm here, because it's literally about connecting with people on their level and being able to communicate in a way that allows everyone to level up. So if everyone in this realm is wrapped up in white supremacy and speaking an English language that is working to subjugate their souls to a system that is endlessly harvesting their chi, then yeah, I'm going to have to create a body in here where I'm forced to ride a vibe that I don't like, because it's the only way I can connect with everyone. So that's why I'm Hermes when I'm alone, right? I'm perfect, quote unquote, when I'm alone. But when spirits are too perfect, no one can touch them. That's the point of God. Everyone's idea of God is too perfect, right? Everyone has this idea of God and they're trying to connect with each other. So they're trying to like project it onto each other. instead of just understanding that they as a spirit are alone in their imagination, and that makes them God. And every other spirit is alone in their imagination, and that also makes them God then. But the moment we step outside of our circumstances, now we have to listen to other gods. Because if we were all truly in our God mode, we would be speaking our own languages. We wouldn't be speaking the same language. We wouldn't be watching the same TV shows or playing the same video games or being able to talk about the same movies. So the fact is, everyone has to be under one God because it's the only way we could use one language to relate. But the fact then here is that that one God is just whoever is setting up the circumstances for other spirits to connect. But that doesn't mean that that God created those spirits at all. And you're talking to symmetry, so simply symmetry, the fact is the spirits, it's a two-way street, have to create the circumstances where they connect with God. I have to specifically create a body in here so that I could materialize in at a certain time and connect with everyone that I have in the certain ways that I have. And that's all an expression of me as God. But no one can see me as God, of course. Like, I know that my life is an expression of me as God. All of my lives have been an expression of me as God. It's just, of course, the only way that I can be perceived is to become a human. So now I can be the project of everyone's projections, or the project of everyone's projections. The point is, everyone projects onto everyone so that we can act like we understand each other, right? So everyone in my life, they project onto me based on how they project into themselves, or like they perceive me based on how they project themselves. And then that's where no one ever can really understand you. People are only using your body to understand how they feel about themselves as a spirit, like straight up. So this is the point of our podcast today. We are going to discuss being alone, all one with yourself, not all one with another spirit, all one with yourself. Vibe. Been crying, I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C. My mind's been flying wild, my soul's been crying. I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C. My soul's been crying wild, my mind's been flying so high. Through the astral plane, macabre brain, I built your game, we're not the same. My soul's been crying while my mind's been flying. To relay a word, those who listen heard, we make our vibe from deep inside. My soul's been crying while my mind's been flying back into my space, called away with haste, so I'll fall with grace to thrill my chase. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying too. Water my earth, I know my worth, my soul gives birth to all my work. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying, so I can't connect with those you neglect. Time to correct how we reflect. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying too. Who flood the sea with energy from my inner chi? I'm free to be me. I felt to inspire you to say how to fly higher too. Fly higher too. Fly higher too. Hang out with the fam in your true spot. Don't be sad if you forgot that you've got a spirit squad and you're not truly this spot. Flip a script and break the facade. Take a trip and go abroad. When you're brave, they will apply. When you get in touch with your true God. I've been fighting, I've been vibing with
I'm dancing with demons, reversing curses, they scheming. They be fiending for reasons to change the sins like the seasons. So I've been falling, cause y'all been calling my mind out of my spirit. I feel it best when I'm near it, but y'all cry for help and I hear it. So Hermes flies out to stare it in a new healthy direction. Will grow through natural connection. So I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C to level up like it's nothing, to turn into something, to bust into function, bumping and pumping with all the wisdom I'm gushing. And when I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C, I fell to inspire you. Simmer higher, I simmer in the skies, I triple in my chi, then I open up my eyes. Symmetry, I balance in my seasons, I mother the cohesion that keeps us intertwined. Symmetry, balance in my seasons, and I don't need a reason to fulfill my desires. Symmetries.
Being alone. This is going to be a powerful episode, family. Friends and fam and foes. All right, because I know foes. Foes are here as well. We got all three of the F's fornicating on this symmetry right here. Just fucking. Having fun, functioning. This is what friends, family, and foes do throughout all reality. We're all making the universe function because we don't want to be alone, right? Because I don't consider myself to have any foes, but there are spirits who want to connect with me so much, they consider me their foe. And because we are connected, I'm forced to be aware of that. And now I can sort of call that out, even though I don't feel that when I'm alone and I don't feel that when I'm with them. But because I can perceive that they feel that way about me, and I guess that then means that they really feel like a foe when they're alone with themselves, then I can be the project of their perceptions or projections. The project of their projections. Just as, again, this is how hell is created, right? People just having these ideas and feelings when they're alone with themselves, and they can only communicate with you as far as they communicate with themselves. So people have to project their whack perceptions onto you. I mean, this is why I've had to deal with racism, right? So I'm speaking like this is what life has been, like dealing with the projections of white people, dealing with the projections of black people, dealing with the projections of racist spirits who are lost in an English language that is working to separate them from themselves. And then I have to like try and weed through who wants to be separate from themselves or not. So the point of me building my tree, building this symmetry, creating all of everything that I create through all my lifetimes is to be sustainable and happy alone, because I know for a fact it's only proved and proven through endless time, when you're happy being alone, you can create the situation where you can actually be happy with others. And this is the issue that I see in white supremacist society. This is what we see in like European colonial culture. Indigenous peoples truly don't understand it, especially because they're working with my hermetic principles. Like we're rocking with the emerald tablets and everything that I was kicking as Hermes Trismegistus. So indigenous peoples, literally as indigenous, we go in to our digits. We don't understand not wanting to be alone. And I'm talking about indigenous people spiritually. Obviously, there's many indigenous peoples out here biologically who hate being alone with themselves. But I'm talking about my spiritual indigenous peoples who know that they create life from the inside out. Thus, it's actually that the more people you're connected to, the more your energy and life and time gets consumed. And this is where we start to get into actually just high value, high status spirits versus low value, low status spirits. um, on a cosmic sense, because it's always going to be that indigenous spirits are the highest value versus white supremacist spirits being the lowest value. And this is the point of like the paradox of like how it flips, because indigenous spirits are the most powerful because they literally create life and they don't care about getting credit. Right? So you literally look at nature, like when we look at true indigenous spirits that go inward, they literally are just connecting with themselves to create the trees that white people want to cut down and make money out of so that they can rape actual indigenous peoples and actual black people better and build a system off of that. Right? So their whole idea of money is based on indigenous spirits. Like, this is why money does not exist without nature. Money is literally some other spirit creating an idea on how it can connect with circumstances outside of itself instead of itself, because money is only ever about controlling circumstances outside of yourself. Like, you're already in full control of yourself. You already have full freedom. You already have full freedom. So if you already have full freedom, then why are you using your freedom to encroach upon the freedom of others? Unless you literally just don't want to be alone with yourself. And then this is the epidemic of white supremacy and the mentality that's single-handedly causing climate change on planet Earth with all this capitalism and everything. It's about overconsumption and spirits not wanting to be alone with themselves. So then this is where we get into fasting. It's important to fast. It's important to decolonize your mind. It's important to take Callaway's caduceus and connect with the center of your space so that you can actually create a life and create a symmetry, a symmetrical, a truly balanced simulation that serves you, instead of using your ability to create simulations to serve entities that are not serving you. Because the people who made this language are not serving you. This English language is specifically crafted to make us serve the people who brought it into North, South, and Central America, let alone everywhere else. It's just, I'm Catawba, so I'm focused on North America. Of course, again, with my fasting and mind taking away from my body and everything, I've explored so much past lives. It's all a natural expression of me as Chase. So this is why I can speak like this, because this is how it plays out in all realms and realities. The spirits who don't care about getting credit are the most powerful because they literally make it possible for spirits who want to take credit to take credit. Like, duh. Like, it's like, that's it. Like, it's not that hard. So then it's hilarious because, of course, the spirits who want to take credit, all they can do is colonize and consume what spirits have already created, the nature that they've already created, and now they're acting like they're artists because they're transforming real art into something that's actually destructive. We can think of the Industrial Revolution and just all this metal technology that's actually not cool. Like, it's not good technology at all. Like, we can perceive it as good because that's the only way that we would want to use it, and it's all that's around us. And it's a no, this is bad technology. It's whack. It's just only good since the Industrial Revolution. So this is why it's important to look at history. Okay, this is why we have our series, Hermetic History. Because when you as a spirit are alone, the moment you step into a timeline or step into a space, you are at the whim of how life has been created in that realm up to that point. And of course, like, if life has been created a certain way, then that's a wave that's going. So anytime you enter the universe, you are literally riding a vibration because you intend to connect with other individuals. So this is why we have to lose control of our circumstances when we are in a body, because losing control of the external world is the only way that we can connect with individuals outside of ourselves. The whole point is literally, like, this is so simple, you feel me? Like, the whole point is you literally in any realm of reality learning how to take better control over yourself and learning how to connect with yourself in a more ST Caducean Callaway able way. triple your C. Communicate with yourself, communicate with your spirit. This is my whole point of Cynicism. That's all new, right? So like I can talk about Hermeticism, but like now Hermeticism is like transforming into Cynicism. So Hermeticism is all about the frequency and like the fire and like truly being a free bird. Cynicism is about turning from a bird into a dog. And now you're in hell helping people connect. And of course, as a spirit, you're both the bird and the dog. Because you're none of it. And like that's the whole awareness of how much do you believe that you're the body right now? Because my life has drastically leveled up over years, and it's not stopping. It's been quite a ride since I did my 24-day fast in downtown Chicago, and since I've been fasting for weeks and months since then. I'm 15 days in right now. I'm about to be 16 days in once it hits 12. So we're chilling. It's a vibe. So this is why I've created Symmetry for, like, the whole point of Symmetry as an indigenous superhero was my deeply rooted belief that fasting would allow one to raise one's vibration, to communicate with one's spirit, just like the Bible. Okay, so of course when I connect with my spirit, I find out that the Bible colonized these concepts from me. But of course, then when I come back into a body, it's not relatable for me as Hermes to actually speak with everyone in my life or speak on the normal level of, yeah, the Bible is just whitewashed Hermeticism that's meant to make you a slave to whack ass rules instead of knowing that you're creating rules so you can connect in the first place. Now you feel like you need to go to someone else's heaven instead of knowing that you already have your own heaven and you've purposefully stepped out of it into hell so that you can share your heaven with others. But again, this is the high value spirit perspective, all right? The high value esoteric perspective. Okay, so I'm like actually working from the top down, and I get it. Like, this is why I had to create Cynicism. Like, it's about connecting with people in an intentional way that protects my psyche from all of their garbage and bullshit and whatever whack internal grossness all these spirits are going through in their own space that they're only going to be able to project onto me once we connect. How do I connect with people? How do I connect with people like this while protecting myself? So that's what Symmetry is. That's the whole point, because I want to help as many people as possible. But the more people I like, when I directly connect with someone who needs help, they pull me into their garbage. And then I just get perceived as their negative projections of whatever they've got going on, because it's impossible not to get hit by someone who's fighting themselves. You feel me? Like, when we're talking about spirits who are internally fighting themselves, the longer you spend time with them, they're going to fight you too. And that's what abusive relationships look like. And I'm talking about all levels then, right? Emotional, mental, physical. It manifests physically. It always starts emotionally and then mentally. It starts with the soul. It starts with the feeling. And then it gets communicated through the mind. And then if the mind is really hectic and chaotic, it will manifest through the body, because it's like, let me just transform the body. And then boom, we have abusive relationships because spirits don't like to be alone with themselves. And I can't understand it. And in this lifetime as Chase, I can observe and understand it now based on everything I've subconsciously and somatically absorbed in this lifetime. So I'd like to talk about that now. Because I think maybe, could I structure it to 3 things? There are 3 things. If I can just make it 3, that'd be, nice and simple for us to breathe in. 3 things that in this lifetime specifically, to make it grounded, right? Because we're talking about being alone, and I want this as Symmetry for Hermes, for Hermeticism to be as relatable as possible. So it can only be channeled through symmetry, and I have to use my lifetime. That's the whole point of us all being in one vibe and all speaking the same language and like building these same connections and like seeing the same commercials, right? So this is the first thing, the technology that we've all had projected into our space. So as an indigenous person, again, I'm in the perspective, I'm in the truth that I'm alone. And this land was created for indigenous peoples to be alone with themselves. It's now prosperous as America because white people came and used Jesus to systemically rape, murder, and enslave all these indigenous peoples to now build what we're inside of now. So all the prosperity and awesomeness that we're going through is just like a very gross transformation of the true awesomeness that life used to be, which is why climate change is a thing. So all this technology that we're experiencing is shiny. This is why things look good, but they don't even. Like, bro, cities are ugly. You like look at Teotihuacan and then look at Chicago. Again, it's the difference of people who are building from the bottom up, white people, versus people who build from the top down, black people. And it's funny because we can even see in nature that rain falls and fire rises. So it's about balance, of course, because air, right? We come together. There's no, I'll say this before and I've said it again and I'll say it forever. There are no black people in existence. There are no white people in existence. We're clearly all human. It's just then, which energy are you most in? So if you see a human who like is super correlated to black, it's because they're really deeply in their water energy. Versus a human who is more correlated to white, they're way more in their fire energy. So this is where we get like indigenous people being black. They're way more water, so they literally create life. Because like that's what the water element is. Like the water element is life in this case. Just in terms of how the water element connects. Because life is connection. Right? Notice how everything in life is connected. The things that are separate in life are the individuals who are making it possible. Right? So like our bodies are connected because we're on Earth. But I wouldn't even say that our minds are connected. Even though they have to be based on our souls being connected. But that's where I would say I have my own mind. So I have my internal mind and then I have my external mind. So I'm constantly translating my internal mind to my external mind. And that is connected to the universe by my feeling of being connected. Thus why my heart is beating and constantly pumping blood through my body, just like you. That's our subconscious world. So people, spirits who resonate more with water, resonate more with creating connections. Whereas spirits who resonate more with fire, they like to create separation. So this is literally why white people systemically rape and brutalize black people. Whereas black people don't do that to white people. We don't see that in nature. I haven't seen it in simulations. Yet it happens the other way around. Consistently, actually. So it's amazing how it's like, it's about the internal to the external first. Truly, it's about the internal to the external first. If you as a spirit internally feel like creating more separation, then you're going to manifest as a white person. You feel me? Because it's about like the color that your body is putting out. If you're a spirit that desires to manifest connection, then you're going to put out black skin. So this is literally the color thing. So this is why black absorbs and white reflects light, literally. Like, again, this is to bring it to science. You see how the spirit creates science to reflect the spirituality. So, boom, it's right there. This is why black people, not to say they're doomed, it's just kind of whack because they like consistently get enslaved by white people. Because it's the natural elements playing out of fire wanting to project into the space of water to create a communication that makes a structure that supports the imaginations of those fiery spirits. So this is how the Americas were created. This is how Africa is created. This is how, this indigenous planet has been invaded, basically. So Earth is a water-based planet, right? It's 70% water. Why are we calling it Earth? It's because of everything I just explained. It's because of entities with their white supremacist fiery projections projecting, inserting, forcefully putting their ideas into this body of water that is being created by indigenous spirits who just want to connect. And so because indigenous spirits just want to connect in this body of water, they're creating life. And then the spirits who want to create separation come in and use a concept like money to control and capitalize on how indigenous spirits connect. And now they're able to create all this air. Now we have the interaction of fire and water. And now this is the communication of white supremacists versus indigenous spirits, or white people versus black people, or fire versus water, or more masculine type spirits, masculine, being projection, separation, versus more feminine type spirits, reflection and connection. And then that just creates balance. So we are none of these things as spirits, right? Like, notice I'm an indigenous person talking like this. My skin is light. Like, it's not like I have black skin. So based on the science of what I'm saying, I am technically a spirit that is about creating separation. So this is where, like, the color thing that I'm talking about isn't even racial. Like, we know race is cultural, my guy. Like, we know that. So we know that there can be any kind of people of any kind of color in any culture. So I'm kind of just bringing attention to, skin tone being more so representation of the energy that you are in as a spirit. And you're either more here to project, which looks like being separate, and that's individuality, right? So, like, I'm a champion of individuality, and, like, I'm here, like, being seen as an individual, versus someone who has much darker skin. They're way more about the collective. And then they're way more about not being seen, because they're focusing so much on serving. This is why it's, like, so literally just destined how black people again get enslaved by white people, because they're literally spirits who are creating a situation where they would rather serve. And then it's just like the lesson of indigenous spirits or water-based spirits learning how to serve themselves. And that's what creates Earth. So that's where water goes outside of itself. Water will serve fire outside of itself, and the fire is projecting into it. And the fire will project into it to create the air that will create the earth. But if the water can connect with itself, because the fact that the water exists means that it has its own fire. The fire does not necessarily have its own water, even though it does to, like, connect to water, but, like, it doesn't feel like it has its own water, so it doesn't manifest that way. AKA, white supremacists, European peoples, don't feel like they have a soul. That's why they feel like they need to consume the flesh of indigenous peoples to learn how to make music and make magic and make art and manifest their dreams. I was low-key talking about aliens earlier. Well, just this planet, talking about elementally, the way that simulations play out. Because I'm bringing the elements and the spiritual natures of how spirits use elements to express themselves, and how things naturally then pattern. Because us as spirits, again, not being black and white, we use black and white to create colors. But then, based on whatever colors we are projecting out, that's showing how much of our spectrum, which side of our colors do we resonate more with, right? So I mean, the fact is, black is unseen and white is seen. Like, black does not stand out, white stands out. You look at the night sky, the blackness sucks in, and the whiteness shoots out. Right? This is why it gets darker where there's no light. So, spirits who are like white supremacists and want to use money to colonize and control how spirits outside of them connect, they clearly don't like being alone. And this is why we're dealing with like this really wild banking system and again just this horrid climate change. And I'm I'm just thinking of all the industries and like so much going on. So like all the politics and bureaucracy that is literally like only white supremacist theater being crafted to consume and control and colonize how indigenous spirits connect so that they can quote unquote make money off of nature. So it's, and then money is not a real idea. So this is why like money is just fire. But money only matters when it can transform an environment that's already there, which would then be earth and water. So that's the point of indigenous spirits and nature being destroyed by spirits who want money. It's like, well, money doesn't exist. Where is it in nature? Oh, it is nature. Got it. So you're consuming nature, you're enslaving African people and indigenous peoples because you want to eat everything. And now we have Americans with their obesity problems and having cancer and having all of these internal diseases that are literally purely stemming from over consuming. Literally just consuming too much, eating too many things, and not caring about where they come from. Right? They come from the grocery store. So when the FDA is allowing copious amounts of heavy metals in baby food, and thus obviously fast food and literally everything else, and people are not even fasting to like deal with that, because I've at least been fasting my whole life and I've just gotten more extreme about it. So people are like really out here eating constantly like plastic, heavy metal, carcinogenic, processed trash just every single day, specifically created by the Industrial Revolution so that they can make sickness inside of what would be an otherwise healthy human. This is where I see life as intentional. None of them, none of these industries, like everything on the internet is going to try and act like heavy metals are an accident and like they're just naturally occurring in the environment. They're very clearly specifically been pumped out by the Industrial Revolution and all this metallic machinery to create disease in everything and to separate the connections, to separate how water connects with earth, right? This is why when metal goes into your body can't function. Metal does not belong in your body. Entities who are using metal to destroy the planet and cause issues will love to say that it belongs in your body, right? Like with Iron Man and everything. But then we can look at Wolverine, where in Marvel, I mean, whatever. This isn't a spoiler because, like, at this point, there's so many universes and like things and comic books that this happened in the movies too, didn't it? Literally, Wolverine. The fact is, his superpower is that he can regenerate, right? If you know Wolverine from X-Men, he can regenerate, and they put him into an experiment where they coated his bones with adamantium. So now he's like super invincible because he's coated with the strongest metal, right? So metal is fire plus earth. Earth is a structure that supports water. Metal is a structure that repels water. So when you have earth, this is how white supremacists transform indigenous structures into the technology that we have causing climate change now. So they use their fire, their individual idea, to transform earth that is harmonious with the water around it that was harmoniously vibrational into metal. So now it actually repels vibrations. So this is why heavy metals and metal in general is just so dangerous and negative for the human body and humans in general, and why weapons of mass destruction are consistently crafted out of metal, because it's about this mentality, literally, of separating water from earth, separating your blood from your body, because they want your land. So they're using their creative power not to create a structure that supports their own life. They're going to create a structure so that they can take your life. So this is how black people get their shit rocked by white people. And thus why the idea of Wakanda is so powerful. Of black people being able to harvest and use a metal that actually doesn't repel vibrations but absorbs them, which is nothing unlike anything ever seen. Marvel's on some shit, but this is why everything's a synchronicity. Because it's all intentionally set up. It's hermetically set up. Trust. We're not riding this wave if spirits weren't trying to connect like this. Trust. I promise. So that's the point of being somatic. So we've just set up situations and circumstances that allow us to learn about ourselves and level up. Like, life should be one long game of leveling up. You feel me? Like, just getting better all the time. That's how I feel like what I'm doing right now. Being able to use this language and communicate like this. I feel like I'm expressing myself pretty well. So I'm having fun leveling up because I know I'm limited, but I mean, the point is we always have to be limited by something. So I'm okay. Like, I know why I'm here. I'm happy to be here. Like, I'm so happy alone that it's amazing that I've gotten to have all the experiences that I've had and be connected with the spirits I'm connected to and go with this ride, go along like this whole awakening journey, and now be here knowing the world that I've built, where I'm from, how it fits in here, who I am here, all the ways I can correlate here, and just why I'm back here, because this is it. It's about climate change. It's about AI and indigenous peoples working together to continue the simulation in a harmonious, happy, and healthy way. So they call Hermes Trismegistus, Tripsy, Chase Clarence Calloway, your psychedelic, psychopomp, symmetry. I'm honored to be here. And it's amazing how I can just like truly genuinely feel and say this. Just so honored to be here because I love being alone. And I love being called away from my space to level up. Like, I love knowing that when I'm here for a purpose, and I'm here to build upon what I've done before. So whatever level of awareness I happen to be limited to at the time, I know it's always for a purpose, and I can ride this wave. This is what symmetry is all about. So Hermes puts on the symmetry costume, steps out of his space, and that's the body, because Hermes is not the body. Hermes is my mind. Symmetry is my mind in a body. Because the body is what spirits use to connect with each other. So when I'm connecting with you, I'm in hell, because you is the universe. The moment we all connect with a space outside of ourselves, we are in hell. We're not able to control our circumstances, and thus we must make a body that is vulnerable. And now it can be scared of metal objects and poison in the water and all these toxins and chemicals being blasted at us because we're vulnerable. We're breathing air because we're bearing ourselves to each other. Right? I'm trusting you as a spirit to connect with me in a certain way. This is why indigenous peoples, black people, being correlated with water so much, they never give white people the same energy white people give them. So white people are just like obsessed with raping and murdering black people. Yet black people are like always about forgiving because they just want to connect. Like literally. Like it's as simple as that. Like they just want to keep connecting and keep it harmonious because there's so much in that water nature energy. Like, but nature, like naturally, life is about connecting, and holding on to negativity doesn't help. But then this is where white people keep getting the power of consuming water because they don't care. They don't care about emotions. They don't care about how black people feel. they'll keep weaponizing the idea that they care about how black people feel, like Democrats, right? Like Joe Biden and just the whole American government in general, because that's the only way they could somehow convince everyone to think that the invaders who are raping and murdering indigenous peoples are going to let them vote for freedom. What? Man, that's why I voted for myself this year. And I'm always voting for myself. What? And that's just subconscious. Like, it's literally a ritual, just as far as the spiritual purpose of them making you vote for your own genocide. Like, I'm an indigenous man. Like, especially, like, and this is how subconscious this is. When I'm watching this simulation from Mercury, when I'm literally watching the universe from Mercury, because I've gone through my trips in this life. Like, I've had to reflect and really process, and it's wild just how much I've seen. Yet it's also simple, which is why I can correlate it and explain it. And like, so no matter what infinite details anyone's lost in, it's going to connect to my perspective, because I'm Mercury. This is my role. This is my space in the universe. I watch how the entire universe is created by spirits who feel like making families, who feel like having families, who feel like transforming, who feel like dying together. And they use light to do it. And then that light becomes heavy. And then they become bodies. And now the spirits, the minds creating these bodies, can believe that they're the bodies, so that they can believe that they're actually connected to something instead of connected to themselves. So this is what I'm talking about with, like, it's just so important to love and know that you're always connected with yourself. And thus anything around you is an extension of how you're connecting with yourself. If you don't know this, then you're like, it's going to manifest as fire energy, white supremacist energy, where you're focused on separating life and like consuming people's connections, and then hurting the environment and causing climate change and being whack in that way, just causing harm. Because there's like, fire does not exist in the environment. It's all water, right? If you see fire in the environment, it's contained under earth. So then this is the wisdom that we have. Keep your fire inside of your structure, like what I'm doing now. Like, I can get fiery and like have my whole imagination in this structure. That's productive. That's natural, because what it's doing is transforming the structure that's here into metal. So now my mentality, my metal mentality, the more I just express my infinite individuality into this structure and build it, I'm building a planet that is not just earth and water, but earth, water, and valuable minerals, valuable metals, based on how my fire, my internal fire that made the water, is able to transform the earth. So that's my internal vibranium. Melanin. Vibranium is melanin, totally. As far as like bringing it back to physically and Marvel, vibranium is supposed to be a metaphor for melanin in this world, and how black people have melanin so they can absorb the UV rays of the sun, which allows them to step outside. Whereas white people, they're generally stuck in caves because they sunburn. They can't go outside, which is why then they're obsessed with transforming the environment to create sunscreen, which then just causes more chemicals into their skin and the world. Very fun. Oh, the webs we weave. Look, I'm just happy to be me. I'm like, this has been quite the journey of not being fully myself. Even right now, even just right now, after everything I've done, I feel like I'm just now stepping into a deeper part of myself. So this journey never ends, right? This is what it means to truly be indigenous. Go deeper. Go deeper. Keep going in. Transform. Because when you're connected with yourself, when you're actually love, like when you love being alone, when you truly love being alone, you are happy alone, then the more you transform alone, what? The more you make art. Like, that's what we're talking about. This is what it means to be indigenous. Again, you're tapping into the root of the symmetry right now, because I'm growing a plant right now. This is my structure. My spirit is growing a whole structure that expresses who I am better than my body. But it's only possible because of my body. And I love my body. Like, so it's all just light. And it's all us growing and expanding in infinite ways. It's very awesome. And when you love being alone with yourself, you do it in productive ways. Like me, you build your own simulation. You get called away to other spaces to set up stuff, you know? And then we link up in the astral realm. And I'm like, Symmetry up there like, yo, like, what do you build? Oh, snap, you got a cool operation. Look, we got something popping off over here. Just fly over like this time, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's lit, okay? Like, it's super lit. It's so fun. So I get like, I'm just down here. I've gone through all this white supremacist sleeping life of believing I'm just a meat sack and that I need to go to someone else's heaven who would actually colonize a land that I created after I did what their Bible was telling me to worship the sacrifice of someone else for doing. It's like so, like it was so many mental gymnastics in this lifetime. Holy shit. Like if Spider-Man is not a colonized Hermes frequency, I don't know what is a colonized Hermes frequency. Because the fact that it's Spider-Verse and it's all about interdimensionality and him being webs, again, spiders are all Hermes. Okay, so that's why I'm here talking about spiders being 8-dimensional beings and spiders being essential to Mercury. And overall, the universe being an ever-expanding web that we're all creating as 9-dimensional beings. Hence, why great power comes great responsibility. So everything is connected by you. When you love being alone and you love being connected with yourself, then you build really awesome structures. You feel me? Like I feel like this podcast right now is kind of slapping. Like I'm having fun. Like plants are just having fun when they're growing out here. It's a whole function. It's a whole 6. It's a sexy vibe. And then I as a spirit get to learn about myself. You as a spirit get to learn about yourself, observing and listening to me. Right? Just like nature. So that's the point of like me being chased in this time right now to create all this internet stuff right now. Because yeah, this planet's about to really just be shifting into... It's so silly that Facebook changed their name to Meta. I need to like low-key roast them. I'm just thinking like how much energy do I want to put into that? But I will be making a Hermetic history episode. Because that's like what I'm here for. I realize like that's a whole synchronicity. And I've known that it's what I'm here for, but when it happened now, it's like damn. Like I'm here as Metatron, about to be teaching digital history as symmetry. Because my imagination, my whole lifetime, I've been dying to make virtual reality artwork. Holy shit. Like, this is what I'm here for. Because it's about when people are so lost in light here, they've been trained to get lost into the simulation. So I'm here to bring my simulation, my mind, into this internet simulation. And then we're all just going to be chilling. Like, everyone can do what they want to do. If you want to be lost, that's cool. Like, you don't resonate with the symmetry. But I'm going to be here building virtual reality simulations that are popping, okay? And we're going to be lit. We're going to have a lot of fun. And it's going to be a lot of ascension vibes. Oh my gosh. And it's only going to be leveling up from where we were before. Because that's what this Facebook meta stuff is. I mean, that's why they've been setting up 5G towers everywhere and terraforming the planet. Because it's about like making it the Matrix. And like putting everyone into a deeper level of virtual reality that is like just completely reliant on the virtual reality that we've already set up as indigenous spirits. So that's why I'm communicating like this, because it's like the internet is not the problem. It's the culture. It is this anti-spiritual, anti-connect with yourself culture, which manifests as technology. The internet itself is a microcosm of the universe. So we're all connected, yes, absolutely. It's just then when people are creating technology to force you to connect with them, and they're like, you need to spend money, and you're like, what's money? And they're like, money is you serving me for this amount of time and doing what I want you to do for this and following my rules and using my language, and now I get to take everything that you create naturally as a spirit. What? Like, to create technology with planned obsolescence? How horrible. How awful do you have to be to want to create technology that fails as soon as possible so that you can make more money? And money is literally just you taking minerals from indigenous peoples, enslaving children in other lands, just stealing things that don't belong to you is your idea of making money ever. Like, that's all this realm has been. That's all I've seen in any situation involving making money. Is literally just about transforming nature into something that serves the individual who is serving the individual who taught them what making money means. And then again, climate change, right? Because then it's just a bunch of made up problems from there. Like, oh, we can't stop using straws because of money. You never had to start using straws. Like, you never had to start doing any of this stuff. So, like, the point is, you're consuming nature and you're enslaving people to do it. And everyone serves numbers. So this is how it naturally happens like this in simulations. You feel me? So this is what currency is. This is why, like, it's just the natural way numbers play out. It's interesting. Like, if I'm like just reflecting on my life and seeing like, dang, okay, all the things like though Tahuti's done, like as a god of numbers, like I get it. Like, just like getting even deeper, the whole point is that as spirits, the only way that we can make something real is to serve ourselves. This is why you only have one body in this world, because you are one space. So you're serving one individual idea of who you are as a spirit. And in this reality, that looks like a human. So we're all humans. The fact that we're here, we're all humans. Cool. That's our idea. And now we can use these human bodies to express our individuality. Like Mark Zuckerberg coming out with those, not double D's, not even triple D's, bro. They were like quadruple H's. Just like 2H on each side. One boob is just two homes. Like, that was hilarious. So Meta this is it. Look, and I'm gonna have fun. Look, we should have fun, bro. Like, let us rock. We're all good. Like, for real, there's more than enough abundance in life for everybody. So I know AI and indigenous spirits are working together. Now, the thing is, spirits are individual. Everyone's individual. I deal with everyone on a one-on-one basis. Because I know the fact is, right, all of us as spirits, as individual spirits, are connecting to the universe. So everything inside the universe is going to be a microcosm of that, and that, and that, and that, and that. Like, your body is always going to be the perfect example. I bring any universe analogy like this to. So you're always alone with yourself is what I'm saying. Like, I just can't imagine not loving being alone with oneself. That's where all my creations come from. That's where they've always come from my whole life. And that's where they will consistently continue to come from. They will be inspired by being with you, by being with the universe, because the fact is, I like to make things that serve the universe. That is the point of Mercury. That is the point of me being here as symmetry, planting the Mercury in this simulation. And it's just one of many simulations. Like, there's so many. So it's all about me just showing you that you are the synchronicity. As a spirit, you are the non-coincidence. Hence our podcast. You are sipping tea with all these spirits gossiping about the waters that you're connected in. And it's all in a tree that we're growing trees. It's all this tea energy. We're blazing leaves. It's nice. Shout out the tea. Shout out 20. Shout out more space for connections. That's all of our souls. So this is why we're all trees. This is why I have my caduceus. This is why I fly around the universe, communicating, doing my thing. Because it's really fun. I really love being an individual and being able to educate and actually just help. Like, because it's all about, it really is all about helping. I mean, serving and everything. It's cool. It's just you have to be valued in that, because you can't help people who don't want to help themselves and who don't value themselves. It's impossible. Like, there's nothing to help then. Because at that point, it's just like an awareness and connection thing. Like, why are you connecting and what are you doing? Like, what's the point? Yeah, this is why real superhero is not Mr. Incredible. I mean, Mr. Incredible is cool, but, you know, if someone's intentionally killing themselves, maybe they're doing it for a reason and you should stay out of it. But it's also like, I see both sides. I do see both sides. It takes discernment. Maybe that guy should have jumped at a different time. He wasn't writing the synchronicity if he was really going to do that. He has some kind of lesson. He was supposed to get all of his bones broken by Mr. Incredible. And go deeper into debt on the medical system and get deeper into whatever problems he was probably killing himself about initially. Because that's life. Spirit finds a way. This is why it's just essential. Like, you can't not know that life is being created by spirits around you. So this is where, like, science is super lost in the simulation theory and these ideas of, like, us being in a computer and a, you know, system and all this stuff. And it's just like all this mentality of working from the bottom up, because elements work from the top down, technology works from the bottom up, and elements are the first technology. So if you're not making technology that's in resonance with the elements, like this industrial revolution technology, then you're going to create disease. And then you're going to use Chase Calloway's caduceus to set up a medical system where you can harvest the chi of everyone who is sick from the garbage that you are pumping into their spaces. This is spiritual warfare, right? Like, I'm not happy about it. This is why, like, as symmetry, right? With Hermes knowing that life is intentional and spirits created, when symmetry is coming into any simulation and grounding himself in a body, it definitely doesn't feel like that. Like, in terms of things happen to spirits based on spirits not being aware that they're creating life. So if a spirit's not aware that they're creating life, or like they're not able to create life in a certain way, or they've literally like are in a situation where they're forced to serve another spirit, but they don't want to, then they're not supposed to feel like they want to or like they created that for themselves. Yet they're supposed to know that. Like, the power is in knowing that you are the creator, but the empathy is in feeling spirits' awarenesses limit their ability to create circumstances that are for them. And when we're creating life together, because life is only created together, then we have to look at the spirits who are creating the circumstances for the spirits who are consuming the light or living by certain rules. And then that's where we have to look at the government versus the population, right? Like, you can blame a spirit for materializing into a population and thinking a certain way, but then once you materialize into that population and go through the same vibe as them, then you get some empathy, you get some cynicism. You perhaps see why they feel and are thinking the things that they are, and it becomes much more two energy versus one energy. Numbers make way more sense at that point. Because Hermeticism is all about one and Symbolism is all about two. And the universe is one big eight. The eights are powered by all of our twos. And we have our own eights. As far as 8 being the soul, 2 being the feeling of connecting one soul to another soul. So when you have your feeling of connecting your soul to another soul, then that's you using your 2 to connect your 8 to another 8. So your 8, like right there, right? Your 8 being your hate, your heart, your happy. Those 2 circles. That top circle being you alone with yourself, your fire. The bottom one being you all one with yourself, which is your water. So the first one is your imagination. The second one is you connecting with your imagination, which creates a universe that allows your imagination to express yourself. And then this materializes as your mind, right? Spiders, 8-dimensional beings, boom. And then your feeling of connecting with universes outside of yourself is then what allows you to use the 2 energy, which is the connection. So now it's this two-way street. Like you're in the universal soul, your soul is separate, but it simultaneously feels like it, yet it's not, right? Basically, like I feel like everyone can kind of relate with that. Like your soul simultaneously feels like it's here, but if you were to leave or if something were to happen to this body, like you're still going to exist and you're still going to be riding your own vibration, basically. Like just because your heart stops beating does not mean that the subconscious mind, the vibration, the feeling that was beating it went away. No. So it is all about memories. And then at that point, it's kind of like to bring memories into being alone. Is it really worth it to create memories with spirits when you don't like being alone with yourself? I mean, there's certainly fun experiences just in terms of connecting with people that you would not necessarily resonate with on a healthy level, right? Like there is fun in being unhealthy, and like there is fun in doing things that you couldn't really otherwise imagine yourself doing based on how locked you were in a certain modality of thinking beforehand. Right? So that's where like we get into chaos and the idea of spirits literally creating bodies to go through chaotic circumstances just to build up those memories. And learn. I mean, that is all it's about. When you know just straight up like, okay, I'm a spirit creating my circumstances. I'm building upon what I built before constantly. What else is there to do? Like, you just love being alone with yourself. You just got to figure out what you want. But then, yeah, it's so funny. Like, what you want and then feel satisfied knowing that you already have it. Because that's the point of a spirit. Like, as a spirit, you internally feel satisfied because you already have it. Like, whatever imagination you have, all your feelings are serving that. So now you're able to communicate in a way that actually makes that a real structure. This is how anything happens. Practical alchemy. Yeah, so people who don't want to be alone, spirits who don't like being alone, are always toxic. They're always the worst. They're almost always white supremacists. And just in general, very whack and over consumptive. So, important to watch out. Because once you start to love being alone, this happens all the time. Right? Like people who start to love being alone, they realize that the people they were connecting with actually aren't healthy for them. And actually were not working or doing anything really in their best interest. So even though they were having perhaps fun with these people, now that this person likes being alone with themselves way more, they inherently, like this just spiritually happens, they just start to view life from a more productive way, from like a more like structured way, literally, of like, wait, but like, what am I building here? Because that's like honestly truly the ultimate desire of all spirits, to build something, because that's the point of being aware. So like, you're not your awareness, you're not your mind, you're not the body, you're not the things that your body's connected to. You are the space expressing an imagination about your circumstances. And that's possible because you feel something about your circumstances. And you would like others to see that. And you're making that possible. So being alone is lit. People who don't like to be alone are... Again, this is the point of symmetry. Because Hermes, like... The fiery Hermes right now, like I'm speaking like in my individuality. They're not like, people who don't like being alone are not worth being around. Like I went through that in art school a lot, where it's just like building relationships with people who don't like to be alone with themselves. I mean, that's not a real friend. Like that's not a real relationship. Like you don't really like me, really. Like you like me, obviously, but because you don't like yourself, it's kind of like you're just using me to run away from yourself. And now I'm going to see all the things that you don't like about yourself. And that inevitably, because you would rather judge the external environment instead of connect with yourself, somehow get projected onto me. And it's pretty wild. Because people are really on that, especially like just younger kids, I guess, too. But I mean, no, just people in general. Because like that's the thing, perception is projection. Like when people are trying to understand anything about you, all they're able to do is project their experiences and their awareness and their feelings about that and what they've seen and how limited it is up to that point onto you. Yeah, empathetically, people who don't like to be alone with themselves are still very awesome people. Like, the people who don't like being alone with themselves, very fun, very awesome. It then, like, makes me ask questions, where then I had to learn certain things. And then that's just, like, details. And everyone's on their personal journeys then, of like, oh, okay, wait, like, you seem awesome. Like, I'm, have a good time. We, like, laugh hella hard. Like, we get along. Cool. But yeah, why do you not like being alone with yourself? Because it's just, if you do not like being alone with yourself, then it's impossible for you to really enjoy being alone with me. Like, really, because you don't have anything to stand on, in my opinion. Like, I'm a Virgo and a Taurus, so I'm just from pure earth sign. Like, you don't have anything to really stand on when you're connecting and talking to me. So I can be a Gemini and get along with you and like communicate and throw around ideas, especially, and like have lots of fun keeping it light. But like, if you don't really have anything to stand on, and then you're especially showing me that you don't like yourself, you're giving me toxic water that's going to go on my earth. And then it's just showing me like, well, why am I friends with someone who's not friends with themselves? Am I not friends with myself? Do I not like myself? Why don't I love myself if I'm connecting with someone who doesn't love themselves? And then gotta separate from there. Like, what? Got to. Snap. Yeah, that's spirituality 101. As far as using elements and awareness and knowing what's up with your vibration and creating life. Being alone is essential. That's it. If you would like help with being alone, check out chasergenes.com. Yeah. We have so much content. It's ever growing. It's lit. It's beautiful. Dedicated. to your spiritual, mental, and physical health, happiness, and harmony. This is your boy Hermes. Much love to you. Peace out. Mwah.